Walters Gardens Incorporated has always been a family business. To tell the story of the founding of Walters Gardens, you must also tell the story of the family. The company might be called Walters, but its origins date back to a family of Dutch immigrants in the early 1900s. The Lepar family had recently settled in the West Michigan area with their two children, Henry and Dina. They were farmers by trade and found work as vegetable growers, specializing in raising crops of celery and onions in the swampy areas around Zeeland, Michigan, commonly known as muck fields. They started out with little, but after a few years they were able to borrow money to purchase a farm of their own. With success came opportunity and the acquaintance of the Weller family. There were 5 Weller brothers, also Dutch immigrants, who owned and operated a small greenhouse operation called Weller Nurseries. After some negotiating, Weller Nurseries suggested that the Lepar family grow perennial plants for them under contract. This arrangement would continue for many years. Eventually, the Lepar children grew up. Dina married John Knoll, and they continued to grow perennials, selling them through their partnership with Weller Nurseries. However, at the early death of John in 1936, the partnership dissolved. Dina was left with their one daughter, Harriet, and a struggling business in the height of the Great Depression. Unwilling to give up, Dina made the bold move to take out a loan and advertise the business nationally. Dina's mother, also a widow by this time, offered to help her pack and ship plants to this new audience. Dina, Harmk, and Harriet not only survived but succeeded. The business grew so well they were able to hire some seasonal employees. In 1942, Dina hired a young man from the nearby town of Borculo named Dennis Walters.
All right, originally I was introduced to the perennials plants as a hired hand. Okay, I came in on the scene here when I was about 18 years old. I grew up on a farm in Borculo. I knew something about farming, about raising pickles, cucumbers, strawberries, but I didn't know anything about perennials. In the course of events then, Grandma Knoll, shall I say, Mrs. John Knoll at the time, and she ran an ad in the local paper. Local newspaper, Zeeland Record. I need help. I would like help. And I answered that call. And of course, on answering that call, I knocked on the door then. Yeah, Stanley Lousma told me something about you already, so I know something about your background. And all right, but she wanted a week to think it over, and then she let me know that, okay, you come on. And the salary, my remuneration, my wages would be a great big $65 per month. And the room and board, I could eat and I could sleep here, and I'd get $65 a month. So then I served as an apprentice over here for maybe 3 years. In the early years, of course, I was poor as a church mouse. I didn't have dollars. I was the oldest in the family of 7, and so the money that I earned had to go to Borculo to my folks. Okay, shall we say, Harriet? Okay, she drives me back and forth to Borculo. That lasted for maybe 6 or 8 months, something like that. And we became attached to each other, and after a few years we decided to get married. We had been operating under the name of Mrs. John Knoll. That was the business name. We advertised in magazines, plants for sale, phlox, delphinium, creeping, whatever. And after we were married, after a year or two, we decided to go in business together together, and we operated a company called, we give it a name of Knoll and Walters Perennial Farm. into a partnership. Well, that lasted a few years, and then my mother-in-law got very nervous with a young kid, that son-in-law, doing some wild investments and so forth. She says, I want out. I want out. I want to undo it. I agreed to pay her off a certain amount of money, and I forget what it was, but anyhow, we made a settlement there. But I had to provide room and board for her. That thing turned around. She lived in the house. We all lived in the same house, but only she moved upstairs, and meaning set up her headquarters upstairs. But we provided room and board for her. So with this agreement.
Knoll and Walter's Perennial Farm served as a foundation for the future with its brief existence. Growth was slow but steady as the young company found its footing. With Dina stepping back, Dennis employed his 4 brothers, and the company rebranded itself as Walter's Gardens Incorporated.